Good morning and welcome to another video on this Paolo Soprani 80 bass. So this is the last video on this series for this one. In this video what I'm going to do, I'm going to just replace the bellows tape on the front of the bellows. The sides and the back are in pretty nice shape and they just need a tiny little bit of touching up, but this one's got quite a lot of fading and a bit of wear, and actually to make it look nice I'm just going to replace all of this bellows tape. But I'm going to do a nice little pattern. So I've got some dark red bellows tape and kind of some ruby red bellows tape, so I'm going to do an alternating pattern of dark red, ruby red down here. So that's what I'm going to do in this next video, just to give the front of the accordion just a really nice look to finish off with. So let's get into that. So I'm going to start off by just getting the bellows off the accordion. So I'm going to take all the pins out from the treble and the bass side and just end up with just the bellows. So just let me do that and I'll show you when I've just got the bellows ready. Right, I've got the bellows all nice and ready for the working. So the next step is to carefully measure the length of the bellows tape that I'm going to need. So I've got myself a nice long ruler, and I'm going to check it at a few different points excuse me, and see if I can get a really accurate measurement of what's already there, and that's going to really help me try and keep this as neat. And I'm pretty sure, I'm just measuring quite a few here, that I think 40 centimeters, 400 millimeters is the correct length. So I need to do 40 centimeter strips, and I did have, I think it's 15 in total. So before I can start cutting the bellows tape out, what I'm going to do is take off the existing bellows tape. Now this is a bit messy, but it's worth it in the end. So what I'm going to do here is carefully peel, just get a little blade just to start it off, just being careful not to do anything too damaging to the, actually this is coming off quite easily, too damaging to the actual folds of the bellows, but it's actually coming off quite well, but just might need a little bit of encouraging. So what I'm going to do then is just take off the old bellows tape by carefully peeling it off, hopefully not causing too much damage, or any damage really, to the bellows underneath. So I'm just going to do that. I'll show you when I've got all of this off. Okay, excuse me. So I've taken off all of the, I've left the two end bits because they're in good condition and it's nice, so I'm going to leave it as it is. So I've taken off all the bellows tape and I've cleaned it. I've got all the dust out, and I've just run a wet wipe along all the folds to clean that from right inside to give a clean as possible surface. There's still remnants of bits of glue and things, but it's all off, and any of these little marks here, that will be covered with a new bellows tape. But I don't want to get too far into the bellows by trying to get all the marks off, because actually it might cause damage, which I don't need to. So that's all looking ready for the next step. So just going to put that to one side, and now I need to count how many folds I've got to cover. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 folds. And so I'm going to need Yeah, so just want to work out the pattern, because that's the ruby red. So dark red, light red, dark red, light red, light red. Ah, okay. So I'm going to do 7 of each. So I'm trying to work out the pattern, but it's fine. So 7 of each. So I've got my ruby red and my dark red. So this is where I have to be very, very accurate. Well, as accurate as I can in cutting 7 of each 400mm. So I'm going to get my Swiss Army scissors because they work the best. And first thing is going to just do a nice straight cut. Actually, I might use these scissors actually. Do a nice straight cut to start with. I'm going to get a nice sharp pencil, and you've got to try and stretch it. Let's put it down like this. You have to stretch it taut or marking it so that you get a nice accurate measurement. So here we go. See how careful I can do this. So hold that level. There we are, that's the first one. And it's just, and repeat. So just going to be as careful as I can. So I'm going to do 7 of these and 7 of the dark red, and just to make sure that I haven't done a massive cock up. That's fine. Right. So here we go. What I'm not going to do is use that as a template, because that just ends up with getting errors. So I'm just going to do each one individually. So I'll come back when I've done my 14 sections. Right. Okay. So I've now got all of my bellows tape cut, and now it's the interesting bit when I've got to now start fixing it on. And what I like to do is start in the middle and work my way out. I find that easier to try and keep it all nice and level. So I'm just going to work out what colour I need. So ruby red, dark, ruby, dark, ruby, dark. So I'm going to start on that one. Yeah, so I'm going to start on this one. Dark. So I'm going to start with a dark one on this one here. So actually what I'll do, I'll just put a little mark. There we go, just to remind me. So what I've got is my Eileen Super Duper tacky glue. There we are. And I've got all my clamps ready. I've got all of those ready to go. There we are. So next step is to get my first bit of tape, my dark red one. Let's get some glue on here, and let's apply some glue to the whole length of this piece of bellows tape. Now you must make sure you go right to the edge, right to the corners, because you want the whole part of the tape to be stuck, including the corners. So you just have to ensure that that's done properly. It's a bit messy, this. A little bit here. Right, so let's find my first section, and I can use some of the marks where I can see the old to give me a reference, and then just gonna fold it over, try to line up once I'm happy in that position, I'm just going to clamp it up. There we are. So it's quite labour intensive, but I just want to make sure that these pieces of bellows tape are properly attached. They're not going to come off. So that's why I'm clamping everything. So once that first one's dry, so I'll leave it for say 10 minutes. On to the next one. So the next one's going to be obviously the ruby red. So while that's going, actually one thing I should have done, which would make it easier, is if I get the next ruby red one, is to actually fold it, crease it in half. I should have done that, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So if you just go along the whole length, fold it, just give it a little crease, and that makes it much easier to then centralise the tape and get it even. So there we go. Just give that a little crease all the way along. Right, so I'll let that just dry for a few minutes, and then I'll show you when I come to put on the next section. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, let's take off these clamps and have a little look. Ooh, see. There we go. So that's the first one, centre one. So now I'm going to work around that one. So now I'm going to go to the next colour. So I'm going to do the process all again. So yeah, I have pre-folded it just to give a bit extra help in getting it centred evenly. And now it's just a question of repeating the process. So, and it's just the trick, which I'm still practicing really, is trying to get everything even, and it's not easy, because if you're not careful you end up with a kind of a, starts to go down a bit of a slant, which is why I like to try and start in the middle and work out, and hopefully that just makes it easier to avoid having a kind of a long diagonal going going one way or the other, because it's actually pretty hard to get them straight. I'm not really sure how I need to find out how the factories do it, because yeah, there's probably an easier method that anyway, but this is a method that I like, because although it's kind of a little bit time consuming, it works, and you end up with a nicely fixed on bellows tape, and yeah, looks quite neat. Right, just give myself just wipe my hands a little bit. So I'm going to go to the next one. Offer it up. And then using that fold just to help center it. Okay, that looks nice. Done that one, and yeah. So I'm going to carry on with this process, alternating the colours, and that's it. That's how I do it. So rather than putting you through watching every single bit, I'll just put these clamps on, and then I'll work my way outwards from the middle, and I'll show you what it looks like when I've done the whole lot. So it's really important to have a nice collection of clamps to be able to just get that just right. Okay. There we are. Right, so I'll leave that for another 10 minutes or so, and I'm just going to crack on. I'll show you when it's all complete. Okay, so I've just got the last little bit of, well, the last set of clamps to take off. So let's have a look at these bellows now that they've all been taped up. Hey boobs, come on. So there we are. So this is what the bellows now look like with my special little pattern. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think it looks nice, and I'm quite pleased that I managed to get it even so nice and straight. Yes, I'm quite happy with that. I think that's good. So what I'm going to do now is put the accordion back together. I'll show you what it looks like all together, and I might take a few pictures, and I'll do one final little tune because this is the last video for this particular accordion. So let me just put it all back together again, and I'll show you what it looks like and what it sounds like. And there we have it. So that's the finished bellows tape on that front there. So I'm really happy with that. I think it smartened it right up. I just think it looks much nicer. So this is the last one for this accordion. It's now in fine shape. So I'm going to finish off with a little tune. So let me just bring it around this way a little tiny bit. So this is a tune that I've been learning, and so I haven't quite finished learning it, mastering it, but I'll show you where I've got to on this accordion, because it's quite nice to show some of the different registers. So let's see what I can do with this. Turn that one off. And that one off. And there that's the kind of bit I'm just got to. So anyway, apologies I couldn't quite get to the end, but that's what I've been most recently learning, and but there we are. So I'm very happy with this. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been a useful series of videos on how to restore an accordion. And there we are. Paolo Soprani, A to bass, all ready to play. So thanks for watching.